Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another wonderful episode of Inspire Rich and You guys know that I'm doing a special series on Mother's Day, and today we have Miss Andrea. She's blessed us with her presence today. So, right off the bat, Andrea, are you married, and how many kids?
Okay, yes, I am married, and I have 3 children, 3 beautiful daughters. Give you a background story.
Okay.
Only one of them are biological.
Okay.
So my oldest daughter, who is 21, is actually my first cousin.
Okay.
Who just fell in love with my now husband and started calling him daddy, and she been ours ever since. So, child,
Okay.
you know, she was my first baby because she was the first girl after me. So I was the only girl in my family for 18 years, and then here she comes, and I was like, oh, my baby. So then, you know, she became ours. Then my husband has a beautiful daughter from a previous relationship, but that's my child, honey. I don't care what our mama say, that's my baby. She's also 21. And
you got some big babies.
I got big babies. I got big babies. And then we have our 11-year-old together. So 3 married for 16 years, 3 baby girls.
Okay, now we're gonna have to do a whole nother episode on marriage.
Yeah.
16 years.
That is a whole episode.
Jesus, baby, 16. Okay, so back on parenting. So,
right.
What do you wish you would have known before you started having kids? Like, is there anything about a motherhood that you wish you would have known, or at least had the information or the capabilities for before you started having?
I wish I had known how to take care of girls. Because I've been around boys my entire life.
How was it different?
The way you talk to them are different. The way they respond is different. You know, boys are a lot tougher for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say, sit down, and they'll be like, okay. But, you know, if I say, sit down to my girls, they're like, oh, mommy, it's so mean. You know, it's a different nurture. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's a different nurture, at least in my house, because you only know how to raise kids with what you see. And so, you know, like how you were raised, how you see other people raise their children. And that's just how we raised the boys. Like, you know, it was the typical boys don't cry, sit your butt down. Oh, Lord, they climbing trees, get them, you know, and that's what I was used to doing. I was used to not crying, falling down, getting right back up, climbing trees. You know, it was that tomboyish lifestyle. And then I had 3 girly girls. I was like,
oh, I love it. First off, I can't wait. My child won't even be no girly girl.
Listen, I was like, where are your sneakers and your shorts and your tank tops? And why do I have to do hair? So I think it was just being able to it wasn't until my oldest girls probably were maybe 4 before I could really understand how to, like, oh, I gotta polish nails, and because that's who they were.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So let me now. I mean, I feel like I know the obvious answer, but I'm going to ask you on a more of a personal level. Was there a difference with your mothering style between the older 2 and then your 11-year-old? Was there a difference at all in regards to how they responded to you or how they expected you to mother them?
I want to say no, but I know that would not be the right answer. In terms of, I want to say no. But like I'm going to give you an example. So my oldest, because she has a mother, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Her, you know, that's my aunt. My aunt is her mom.
Gotcha.
So I was the other mother, but I was like the other mother / big sister. Right?
Gotcha.
So if I tried to correct her in something, she would kind of be like, girl, you know, my mama. But then I would be like, come a little closer to the shoe.
Come here.
You know? So I had to like make sure that I had that balance. Like, yes, I'm still your cousin, but I can't let you run raggedy. You know what I'm saying? Because at the same time, I'm almost like your mom. Like I'm almost your mom. You know what I'm saying? And so that was a little different. And we still kind of struggled through that little piece, because one thing about my aunt will say, now your mom and dad ain't not gonna let you, like, she's not her mama. Your mom and dad not gonna approve of that. You know, stuff like, oh, your dad. And it's not like her daddy wasn't there. Her biological father was there. It was just some struggles. And so, you know, with my middle daughter, it's different because she has a mother and she comes from a relationship, a previous relationship, you know what I'm saying, with my husband. So it was that little, you know, it's always some tension. So it was some tension there. But she, I'm keeping it real, Jimmy. You know?
I got you. Yeah. I'm not even judging.
So my middle child, I started coming around her when she was 3. And immediately she was mama this, mama that, mama out. The girl would come to the house and John would be like, give daddy a hug. And she would hug and then come right back. And he'd be like, come spend some time with me. And she'd say, I want to be with my mommy. You know, and so it was a little different because, again, you have that fine line of, I'm not your mother, but I'm your mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're here. So with the first two, it was a power struggle. Just trying to make sure that I stayed in my lane when I stayed in my lane, you know, when I needed to or whatever. But now with this one, she's mine. So it's a lot different, you know, in everything we do. And she lives with me. So it's a lot different. Like, we are much closer because we talk every day. And I think if the other 2 girls lived here, it would be the same. It's just those dynamics that make it different.
And so what advice would you give to newcomers that would possibly transitioning from and the other reason why I'm asking is it's completely for selfish reasons.
Okay.
Similar situation with my sister and my niece. My baby is 22 this year. And I know, right? Honey, can't tell her ass nothing. And I just, ugh.
That's how it is.
But anyway, baby, whoo! But my sister does her the same way. Go on over there and talk to your child, you know, like the same thing, exact same thing, okay? Right. And so I can only imagine, how she's going to feel when I start having my own, because what I now know as an adult and parenting, okay, will drastically be different from how I parent a child that is my own.
Yeah.
And so with that transitional piece, what advice would you give to someone like me that will probably have that struggle to still make sure that my quote unquote first child understands that I'm still there, I love you, nothing has really changed. It's just that this relationship is a little bit different. Like, what advice would you give to someone that's kind of transitioning in between those 2 stages?
If I could say it in one word, I'd say inclusion.
Okay.
And by that, I mean, they're not separate. Like, I've never made the oldest ones feel any less privileged than the one that lives with me, that I have biologically. You know, anything that she does, I'm shooting text messages. I'm texting like, y'all better call your sister. Y'all's little sister gonna get it. Like, somebody better talk to her. You know what I'm saying? So it's inclusion. I just never let them feel left out, ever. You know, even if it's just a quick text or a picture, or if, you know, she's having picture day, I'm like, okay, you know, today is y'all sister's picture day, show her some love or whatever the case may be. So they're always, now whether or not they take the initiative to do it, that's on them. That's on them. I have to do, you know, as long as I do my part, you know. So I would definitely say inclusion. It's like when she was born, they had Big Sister t-shirts. You know, if anything happened, I was like, don't take her sister from her. You know how people be like, give me the baby. And I'm like, don't take her sister from her. Like, don't do that. You know, I made sure that people knew these 2 gonna trump everybody else in the room when it comes to this baby. You know, that kind of thing. So they've never felt slighted. Let me say that.
I get that. And honestly, I really appreciate you for saying that, because I never thought about it. And I really never knew how I would transition that or deal with that. Because it would be different. You know, the baby would obviously be mine and here in the house with me, and it would be a little completely different. So I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah.
So glad I asked that question.
And you always check in. Like I always check in with my oldest two. Like, hey, what's going on? If we're talking and they're kind of distant, I'm like, did I say something? Did I do something? Like, what's the deal? And if they feel like I wasn't fair, they'll say, well, Ma, that wasn't fair. She's this, and we feel, and we talk it out. We just have a very open type of space. It's a safe space for communication.
Speaking of that, with the safe space and not knowing your background, but Lord knows I know mine. So how does that differ? Like your parenting style from how you parent versus how you were raised and your parents. So how is that different? And if it's different, I'm assuming that it is, but if it's different, how so? And like, what did you learn from them to do or to not do?
Well, first of all, look.
We'll say, how much time do you have?
Yeah, so what is my time limit, sir? What is my time limit? So my parents are real old school, baby boomer, and it was when grown people are in the room, you are not in the room, you have no feelings, you don't get to say what, if you're sad or you don't like a certain thing, you don't have that privilege. You feel the way I tell you to feel and you shut up about it. So see, I know, see, honey. So
I'm just saying.
with my daughters, that was one thing my husband and I talked about. Like we had a lot, and that's another thing I can say. John and I had a lot of conversations about how we wanted to raise our children before we made one ourselves. And so we always share stories of like, well, this is what my mom did. This is what my mom did. This is what my dad did, and we were like, I don't want to do this. How do you feel about this? So we had a lot of conversations so that we could build that foundation. And one thing we always said was we wanted our children to know that they could talk to us about anything. And when we say anything, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. This is not, and they'll be my oldest, when you're saying anything, and I'm like, yeah, but you gotta know when anything stops right there.
They don't know. They don't know.
Oh Lord. So that's one thing. So like even with all of our children, we could be fussing at them about something or irritated with them. And if they feel like we are overreacting, we give them the space to say, well, Mom, this is the way I was thinking. I wasn't thinking like that. And I think you're kind of taking it too far. Here's what we tell our children. If you say it respectfully, we hear you.
Yeah.
It's not what you say, it is how
you say it. It is definitely how you say it.
And it's where you're coming from. Now, if you're coming from a place that you think you finna get froggy, I'm getting ready to knock you clean out. But now, if you want a job, but now, if you are coming from a place of Mom, it's a misunderstanding, I was talk to me, dear. And my husband's the same. So that's one thing. I think one of the biggest things we also do differently is we nurture our children where they are. And by that, I mean, my mom used to say all the time, you let her do too much. You let her talk too. You let her. And I'm like, no, because when she's in distress or something is wrong with her, she's going to feel safe coming to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to be afraid of what I'm going to say or how I'm going to react. Now, she may be afraid of the disappointment, but she's not going to be afraid to come and talk to me because she knows we will work through that. And when we were growing up, it was, go outside and play. Don't do this, don't do that. And I can remember small things like taking furniture apart, like old furniture, and putting it back together because I loved to like bring things to life. Like if it was old, I wanted to paint it, I wanted to care for it. And my mama would be like, put my thread up, go outside.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. Okay. I mean, and the sad thing is, I know you're not lying. Baby, I know you're not.
Flip that house. I could have been on Flip That House making millions. You
could have created it, baby. Okay.
Oh no! My mama was like, "Get your."
Oh my God. Okay. Jesus, Lord. But I know you're not lying, baby. I know you're not lying.
So, Of course, you don't want to get in trouble. So you suppress
follow
talent, you know.
Yeah.
So with our children, we're just the opposite. You know, like our oldest was, she tried everything under the book: volleyball, softball, soccer. So we were like, all right, let's go. You know, we would be at the games, whatever, you know. Now she wants to be a nurse, so let's push that. Our middle daughter is a dancer, has always been a dancer. So she's in dance school now. She's like, I don't want to do anything else but be a professional dancer. Now, if I had said that, my mama would be like, well, girl, what kind of dancing you doing? And what kind of money you about to make? You need to be an attorney, a doctor. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, okay, you want to be a dancer? Let me hook you up with the right people. Let me put you in the right place. You know, it's that. My youngest daughter, she wants to own her own business. So already we're like, okay, where's your business plan? What does that look like? So we just nurture them where they are. And I mean, she may get 20 and say, child, I'm over it. I'm starting something new. Okay, well, let's start that new thing. You know, I just feel like we really wanted to raise our children so that they could feel supported and nurtured and be successful in their definition and not our own.
I'm so glad to hear that. And what I am learning, especially talking to different mothers and fathers, it's most parents are doing that nowadays. And it is so different from how most of you all, or even us, were raised. Like, it is so different. And when I say that, I mean, now some things are kind of crazy, but I won't go there. But for the most part, for the people that I've spoken with, like having this style of behavior, I can only imagine what our country will eventually look like. Eventually. You know what I mean? Like, I can only imagine that. Like, people not afraid to try different things because they never really were told that they couldn't, you know? And I'm like, and so once we're able to kind of get past these quote unquote generational issues or concerns, like, I can only imagine what the possibilities are. I can just only imagine.
I can't wait to see.
Like, I want to see that.
Yes.
Like, I want to see that. Like, for real.
Yes.
Now, you spoke about different tests or trials that your kids may go through to try to discover or figure out what they do or don't like, or just their own mindsets. Along the same lines, a little bit dark, but since we're dealing with this whole COVID-19 thing as well, I know. How have you been able to explain that to them, and specifically around death in general? Like, what it means and what their expectations or your expectations of their knowledge of it being. Like, how have you come around to that conversation?
With the actual coronavirus, or just in life in general?
Coronavirus, since that's what we're kind of dealing with right now in today's times, but specifically around death and the negativity, or I mean, the end, quote unquote, you know, once it's done, that's it, the final. Like, how do you have that conversation? Or have you had that conversation?
We have, and we've had it because we've experienced death so early.
Okay.
And in that, I mean, my husband lost his mother. Our youngest was 3, which means, oh my God, my oldest 2 were 13 and 14.
Okay.
Oh my God. It's been that long. It doesn't even seem, I guess when I do the math, I'm like, dang, that's a long time. So, and she was like, she was the pillar of my husband's family. Like, not just in their immediate family, but with her sister's children, and they called her Peas. So everybody was, you know, Peas this and Peas that, and her kids, you know, so it was different. And I think the toughest thing was trying to explain it to Jonna Marie, who was the youngest, because that was her girl. Like, that was her best friend. She went, when I tell you, if I wasn't in the room, she was with her grandma. Like, if she wasn't with me, she was with her grandma. So it was tough trying to help her understand, but it's amazing at what kids do understand, because when she passed away, we went to her house. And Ladybug was like, that's Jonna Marie and Ladybug, that's the same people, y'all. So Ladybug, I'm sorry, I had to be here too. So Ladybug was like, where's Granny? And we were like, oh, you know, well, Granny is in heaven. We just thought Granny is in heaven, because we were like, that's the simplest way to to describe it. And she was like, and she just kind of did like that. And the next morning, we were getting ready for the funeral. And I was putting her dress on, and she was just talking. And she looked at me and she said, Mommy. And I said, yes. She said, Granny got her wings, and she's a beautiful butterfly. Okay. Now, I went from combing hair to like, wow.
Oh my God.
So I called my husband, and so it was like she knew. She understood it. The other two took it hard because it was unexpected. It wasn't like she was sick. It wasn't like, we were grieving her while she was going through the process. We literally saw her, walked out of the room, and 2 hours later was getting a call. Like, it was that fast. And so they went through the stages of, why is she gone? I didn't get enough time with her, because they were not, again, my oldest would come when I would come, but again, she's got her own mom and her own dad, and the same thing with the middle. She's got her mom, and her mom has a mom, so it wasn't like they were around her as much as Ladybug was. So it was like, I didn't have enough time with her. Why did she leave so early? Why, so we had to answer those questions like, we don't know, and we were real honest, like, we don't know, and we may never know. But what you have to understand is that you find peace in the memories that you do have. Don't get caught up in the what ifs and whys, and just say, it was amazing to have her when I did, and draw up on those lessons that she taught you, and those memories that y'all shared together, because outside of that, you will never go through the grief. You'll be stuck in it, And so, and it was crazy because after she passed away, we had literally like 8 deaths.
Oh my God.
It was like, for 5 years after that, we experienced a death or 2 every year. Yeah.
That is numbing.
Yeah.
It
got so bad, we stopped taking the kids to the funerals. We were like, no. No. They'll understand. Like, we're not going. This is not life. You don't experience death this often. So with the coronavirus, the first thing that my youngest thought about, she was like, oh, I'm not leaving. I ain't ready to go. These people dying. And we were, she's 11, but she's really like,
these people out here dying. You ain't gonna be out there with them.
These people out here dying. I'm like, I'm good.
It's like overeat.
Right here, So we just, even the oldest, wants to be a nurse. So she was in the same mode as the youngest. She was like, oh no, I know what it is. The middle one is like, can I go to Q Delta? Girl, no. So, she was like, oh, no. I'm like, these nasty sweating kids, so. But I turned it to my mama. Then I was like, hell no. So with them, and with them during this, it's just kind of like, you don't want to live in a place of fear. You want to live in a place of common sense. Live in a place of faith. Whose child you are. What is aligned for you. You clearly see that. Just live in common sense. Like, don't live in fear. You still enjoy life and all of that, and things happen, and we just have to work through them and adapt to what is the new normal, so to speak.
I think that's something we all are probably trying to adapt to, whether at any age, because it's not even just the death, but I mean, people without jobs and oh my gosh, like there's a whole new definition of new normal. So
it is.
I respect you for that, and of course, I cannot end on a negative note or a down note.
Not.
Okay.
That was.
I know, because I was sitting here about the crime when you said 8. I was like, oh my God, like I just, Jesus.
It was deep. That's why I said, that's why when that question came up, I was like, oh yeah, it was, our life was a little different during that time. Yeah.
Okay. So aside from that, I'm glad you're having these conversations with your kids. My mother was one, she didn't mind, and even to this day, we still talk about her final stages. But like what she would want. But her mother never did. And I'm so glad, again, that we are slowly fixing certain things that we saw as issues.
Exactly.
So, as a mother, my final question for you, I know. What has been your proudest moment? Like, not trying to point out any kid, because that is totally unfair. But what has been your proudest moment as a mother? Like I did that. Like, oh, that was.
That was me. That was all me.
Like, John, you couldn't even take that one, but
Yeah,
that was me.
This was all me.
But what has been your proudest moment?
When I became a mother.
Oh, okay.
And when I say that,
okay.
not in the sense of bearing a child or raising or having children around me, right? When I became a mother, so for me, it was stages, right? So I had the two they were kind of like part-time, babies. I would get them, take them home, that kind of thing. And then even with my biological daughter, even with our youngest daughter, even when I had her, first of all, honey, I thought no tea, no shade to the lighter persuasion, but I thought postpartum was a white woman thing. Okay, so I was like, oh, that's for white women. That, black women don't go through postpartum. So when I had her and I went through it, that threw me for a loop, right? And then having to break the generational tie of how my maternal grandmother treated her daughters, in turn, how my aunts and my mother treat their daughters. I didn't want to do the same with her or with my other two. So it was like the moment I became a mother was when I came out of these dark spaces, and I was like, no matter what I do, I will always protect you. Even if I have to protect you from me, I will. So that moment, and I would have to say, Jimmy, that was like 2010. So my baby was a year. And my oldest two were 11. And I was like, I can't put you in a space that will compromise who you are later in life. So I'm gonna always protect you. So that was, and it was just like that moment. I was like, play with my kids if you want. Play with them if you want. I don't care who. That's why in the beginning I said, I don't care that they got mama. I tell them, I'll fight your mama. I'll fight your mama about it. And they'll laugh and they'll be like, that's why we don't tell you stuff.
Fight your mama. What I'm saying, and I know you're probably gonna get so tired of me hearing me say this. But I love you so much.
I love you.
Like, I love you so, like, Jesus. When I say this show is really, because in my mind, in my opinion, whether you are a parent, an entrepreneur, whether you're a boss, whatever, we own these titles and we take on these roles. And then we have people that we're molding with us, whether a child or not. And for some dumb ass reason, we forget to protect them. And so it just, girl, I get so frustrated. Girl, I'm about to get up. I get so frustrated with people that don't get that. Like, you asked for this, you accepted this, you moved forward with this role.
Yep.
That's your goddamn job.
That's your job.
That is your job.
You took the role. That is your primary responsibility.
Oh, baby.
Primary responsibility.
Absolutely. Come on. I feel some TD Jakes coming on up in here.
Don't make my playlist now.
Come on.
Yeah, but that's it. I think that was my proudest moment. And then after that, it's just watching them flourish every day. So like somebody else is asking, like, what's your, and I'm like, every day to watch them like move in their calling and really like work it out. I'm like, come on. Yes. So that moment, that defining moment, that was it.
I'm like, that is a great place to end. Andrea, thank you so very much.
Play some twerk music and then twerk that.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
I'm still a fun mama now.
Baby, now I can't. Now, let me get a haircut first. Okay, I think I was wearing a hat when I talked to you 2 weeks ago. Doggone it, I can't even take my hat off.
Oh, you could. You
Baby.
could. No. Oh.
Okay.
Honey, Rapunzel let down your hair, darling.
No, baby, no. I had did no texturizer, and I'm like, it's just,
Blame it all on COVID. It's all good.
That's what it is, but I don't want to go out there looking like I got it.
I know. Oh, not like you got it. Oh,
Damn, look at the mess. Good no. You would not put me out there like that. No, man.
I can't stand you.
But anyway, thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
It has been a ball. Oh, it's been a ball. It has been. Now I don't even know how to stop it.